So my name is Kelly, and I just want to share with you guys a little bit of what the Lord has done in my life. So to start off, I grew up knowing the Lord, but I had grown up with this perception of the Lord. Um, I was afraid, and it wasn't a fear of the Lord to have like reverence or respect and to truly understand Him and know Him. It was just like, oh, He's this big, powerful God. He can do a lot of miracles, yes, but He's very, He can be angry or have wrath, and I was afraid of that. So I always felt like I was falling short and not good enough, and I just felt like I could never change, like I could never truly be who I was called to be. So before I had this life-changing encounter with the Lord and truly got to understand His love for me, and on a truly deeper level, I was struggling deeply with postpartum depression. My marriage felt dead, and I was filled with anger. So my breaking point came about 3 months after my daughter was born. And it got to the point where military police got involved, and I was removed from my home, and then CPS got involved, and I lost my right to see my children, and my husband didn't want to speak to me. At that point, I was taken that night that everything kind of happened between my husband and I, and that breakdown. I went to the emergency room. They released me, but I was essentially homeless. I had nowhere to go. And I felt alone. I was far from my family because they're all in North Carolina, and I had friends here, but I couldn't really open up to anybody because I didn't know how to. And I truly, at that point, I just believed, prior to that happening, I believed it was impossible for me to change like this negative mindset I had, this depressive mindset that I had, that I was just a very miserable person, like trapped in my mind. So I was going to church occasionally at that point, and it wasn't for me. Like, I used to say crazy things, like, I used to talk to God, and I'd be like, I don't think I'm ever going to change because I don't have it in me to put in the work. The word tells us faith without works is dead. And I just was not doing the work. I was just never truly being obedient, if I'm honest. And I was kind of just living life, but I knew what I wanted for my children. So in my mindset, I truly believed, I was like, you know what? I'm probably never going to change. I'm never going to be good enough. And I'm probably going to go to hell. And I used to tell this to God, just having conversations with Him, and I'd be like, but please spare my kids, I would pray that over and over, like, do what you have to do to get them to you, And then that point came, and in my mind, I was like, oh my God, I just lost everything. And out of desperation, I was so embarrassed coming back to Abundant Life Church, because I stopped coming here for a silly reason, I was embarrassed, but then I came back and I was met with so much love. I thought that I was going to be met with like judgment, but everybody was really kind and loving, and I got support. When I reached out, I asked, I started asking, hey, I want to go to marriage counseling, and Miss Lisa was great at mentoring me and helping me understand who God was, along with the discipleship program here with Oriana. She really helped me to come to understand who the God was. And listening to the sermons, I will never forget the first sermon that I came to. Pastor was doing his the crying out loud, and everything that he was saying was just speaking to me in that moment. I will never forget that he said one of those nights, the Lord doesn't care about your marriage or your children. Like, He's worried about your heart. He's after your heart. And I truly felt in that moment that was what the Holy Spirit was telling me. Like, Kelly, I understand the situation you're in, but I care about you. I do care about you. You're not going to go to hell. You can change. I'm here. And that is when I had to put in the work, and it took everything in me. Those moments were the darkest moments of my life. If anybody saw me walking in here, they probably saw just how down I looked. I was desperate. You know, my husband wasn't speaking to me at that point. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to lose everything, because at that point in my life, my family was everything. But during that time of separation, you know, where my choices led me, I came to know that the one I rely on is Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit. I truly can't do anything without him, and I was getting my strength from there. The reason I was able to get up every day and go about my day and do what I had to do was because of God. I was getting my word, daily reading, coming here, and it was in that desperate situation that I felt the Lord's love the most, because I thought, I knew I wasn't angry at God, I was angry at myself. But I was more so full of shame that I was like, here I am again asking for your help, but I don't deserve it, you know? So I would tell the Lord, you know, if it means like if I am getting a divorce, and, you know, I'm gonna have to learn how to be apart from my children for a certain amount of time until, you know, like a shared custody or whatever. I was like, I guess that's what I'm going to have to accept, but as long as I have you. I was telling myself that, and then I started learning here about how to declare it, prophesy over your life, and declare the words, and how important the tongue truly is. And I remember prior to this, I was always telling my husband, divorce this, divorce that, and I stopped that, and I started I don't know how to explain it, but everything that the timing, even with the prayer school, like learning how to pray, I've never really been taught any of that. I just kind of grew up going to church, not really having a relationship or understanding how to have a relationship with the Lord. So the way that everything aligned with what the church was doing in my situation just felt supernatural to me. And then I met someone here who took me into their home as well, and she's amazing, and that just felt supernatural. Like we were both at the Next Steps class together. It's just so many little things like that throughout this journey that I'm like, wow, there's a God who's so faithful and so good that I don't deserve, but he still loves me. And every time I would go to court, anything I asked for, it was passing, it was going, and I didn't know how. And my husband wasn't speaking to me, and then during the January fast, I prayed for my husband, you know, for our marriage. I was declaring life over our marriage, and I just trusted the Lord, and I felt like giving up. So I just knew I had to share this, because I want anybody that sees this, that no matter what your situation looks like, the Lord can turn it around and use it for your good. I had to face a lot of pain within myself, and had to really reflect on where I was in life and what the work that I needed to put in so the Lord could help me, because the Holy Spirit is our helper. But as long as you just take the steps, the baby steps to go and keep your eyes on the Lord, he can turn it all around, and he will, because he's a faithful God and he loves us so deeply. And I came to understand that during this journey. When February came around, everything happened in November. You know, my husband and I didn't speak for just 3 months. It was just about the kids. And then February rolls around, and he started speaking to me again. It was actually the fact that even today, you know, today was the Wow Marriage, the second Wow Marriage conference. Even today is a miracle that him and I were here today, because in February we went to our first one right after we started speaking again. And that to me was a miracle, because he was ready for divorce. That was on his mind. He was done, but the Lord did a work. I was praying over his heart daily and asking the Lord during that time too. I was learning how to be a wife through the word, you know, through God. He was teaching me things about myself and how I didn't have to rely on my husband, because I was prior to this. I was relying on him in a codependent way, but now I'm codependent on the Holy Spirit. And I've truly come to realize that my joy only comes from the Lord. He brings me peace and tranquility and happiness in a way that no one else can supply for me or fill me with. And so starting February, everything started to turn around, you know. Next came the CPS. They had gave me longer visits after that. They took away all the restrictions and said, okay, yeah, you're allowed to be with your kids at any time. You can pick them up whenever. So that happened. I was able to be with my children again, and that in itself was a miracle, because this happened from November and we're now in May. I was told at the beginning of this that it could take up to a year. There were a lot of people within the social services were like, well, most likely you're looking at 1 year of being away from home. And that's the best case scenario. And for it to be, January, February, 6 months roughly, is a miracle. And I will never forget the night that I got baptized. The pastor had said that everything that the cankerworm tried to steal would come running back to me. I received it, I held on to that, and it came to pass. And it just showed me how good the Lord is in a time that I didn't deserve it, in a time that I thought I was gonna lose my family. I was at the point where I was just like, I can't go on like this. He came and surrounded me with so much love and so much support. And I truly came to understand, there are so many, I could write a book, honestly, with how many little experiences the Lord gave me in this short time frame. But out of everything, I just felt his love. And I'll never forget, I was at the altar one night, and Miss Naomi came up to me. She was like, the Holy Spirit put in my heart to tell you that he loves you, that you're his little girl and he loves you. And I had tears streaming down my face. And it just hit me that night, like, he really does love me, and in a way that is supernatural. Like, I don't understand it, because I was so ungrateful. I was angry. I was full of sadness and bitterness, and he healed me from that. Like, during this time, I turned that all over to him. During the fast, that was one of the things that I asked, was like, Lord, take this anger. And he did. Like, today, the way I think about things is completely different, and it is thanks to his word. He's consistently renewing my mind, and consistently making me want to be better. And it is him in me, but it is due to obedience. I've been following him, and I've been wanting to, and I don't know, just the reason I want to share is no matter what it looks like, and no matter what you're going through, it really doesn't matter, because if you have faith in the Lord and you just obey him and keep your eyes on him, he can turn it all around. And I have lived it firsthand through this experience, and I'm so grateful. And I know that if he did it for me, he can do it for anybody watching, no matter how dark it looks, no matter if people are telling you no, most likely you're not gonna be with your family again for a year, or most likely he's probably gonna want to divorce you, because in the natural, it made sense for my husband to want to be done with this marriage. But the Lord did the work, and he did the work in his heart. He did the work in my heart, and he turned it all around, and we're good. Like, it's the way we're communicating now, the way our home feels so peaceful now. Like, things pop up, we're still here. Like, I'm still learning and growing, and he's still doing the work in me, but it's nowhere near how it was before at all. Nowhere near how it was before. I just know that every time something comes up, I'm like, the Lord has it. I just have to be obedient. The Lord is doing a work. And so, yes, thank you.